Okay. So let's talk about leadership. How many, so this is going to be really weird, but it's not really about basketball. But how many people know American basketball or basketball? Yeah, a few of you, not many. Okay, let me show you a picture. Show that. Leadership. Now, I showed that picture to Stefan. He goes, they rigged the picture. They rigged the picture. But one guy is 6'2" and one guy is 7'4". It's more dramatic. But let me tell you about this little guy. This little guy, okay? Because this is important. This is very, very important. Let's talk about leadership. This guy, this little guy. So the New York Knicks, my team, we just won the championship. We just after 53 years. 53 years. They had one of the longest dry streaks ever. So let me tell you, because no matter, I want you to understand where your business is today. It could be thriving, it could be not thriving, it could be, sort of stagnating. But let me tell you about this little guy. Can you, yeah. This guy is smaller than most of the basketball players. Now, this other guy is taller than most of the basketball players, so the height difference is that great. He's slower. He's less athletic. Okay. He didn't deserve to help the Knicks win the championship. He didn't deserve anything. Actually, nobody ever had any faith in this guy. Nobody. They thought he was mediocre, like an average guy. By the way, most of us, people have thought we're average. Okay, whether you're sitting here or whether you're sitting anywhere in the room, let's face it, most people just have this opinion that we're average, which is garbage. Okay, because we're extraordinary. We're extraordinary. But this guy, and so he came to the team 3 years ago. 3 years ago, he came to the team, and the team was terrible. Terrible. Think of your organization. Maybe you're not in a great place. This one guy came to the team, and slower, shorter, everything. Not the guy you want your team to change. And yet this guy, his whole life won. He was a winner. He won in high school, he won in college, and he hadn't yet won the NBA, but he was like a fighter. I can really relate to this guy. That's why I'm telling the story. He's like a fighter. And in his mind and in his heart, he was better. In his mind and his heart, he was better than everybody. Okay? But everybody overlooked him except for the Knicks. He came to the Knicks and he created this culture, which you can do in each one of your organizations. It only takes one person. It only takes one person. Okay? And he came to the Knicks and he changed the entire mentality of the team by hard work. And the other thing that he did is he literally took $100 million less than he had to. He took a pay cut so the rest of the team could be better. And what he thought about that was, he said, well, if I do that and I take a pay cut to be better, so the whole team could be better, so the whole team could succeed, well, maybe we'll win. Now, so the team just won 53 years later, 4 years it took him, changed the attitude of the players, made them work harder, made them work better, made them work as a team. Okay, put the whole thing together. This guy is the mayor of New York now. By the way, he changed the entire New York City. If you saw New York City yesterday, which some of you guys did, there were millions and millions of people celebrating. Actually, the last month during the playoffs, he changed the entire city. He changed the entire country. Great right now. But this one person who didn't have the skills necessarily, but he had the heart and he had the mind. He helped change the minds of actually millions of people. Now, my question is that true for each and every one of us? Is it true for each and every one? Show me. Show me. Behind the fence, show me. Show me. Can one person make a difference in Herbalife? Can? Yeah. Yes. 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 Every one of you can make a difference in this company. Okay, because leadership doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you're sitting. If you have the heart and if you have the mind, you can impact others. And you know you do that, especially up here, because you've already done it. I was in Panama last week and I got this email from one of our 20K presidents. And she said, hey, Rob, I'm not going to go through it because, and she said, I just want to tell you something. I read that's fine. And she just said some very nice things about, whatever. It made me sort of think about how any of us. And so when we hear tomorrow from Step On, you have to have a bold vision into the future. Because with, Jim Rohn used to say, each of us need all of us, and all of us need each of us. Let me give you a different version. We don't need any single person. We don't. Anybody walks out of here tomorrow voluntarily, no problem. Herbalife's going to be great. But we need every single person. We need every single person. We need each other. And when this thing kicks in, and back to your point about being ready today, because we have everything we need today to kick butt in APAC, because the tomorrow that we have to get ready for is simply spectacular. So let me tell you about Mark Hughes. Because I said we have to change and we have to get better and we have to grow and we have to have the skills and we have to create the team. Okay, we have to do all of that. And each individual in here can do all of that. And it's impact all of it. But some things can never change. Because we have a foundational culture in this company that can never change. And Mark Hughes created that culture. And so while we need to change, while we need to advance, while we need to get into the modern era, we need to hold on dearly to our core principles. And our core principle in this room, because this is a leadership room, this is the leadership event, is the fact that we lead by serving others. And, Mark Hughes taught me directly that very, very, almost in the beginning of my career. Because one night I was sitting somebody, which is funny because I didn't I'm playing with the wife and I go to breakfast somewhere and it's like this, around me like this, and Mark shows up and so I'm sitting like imagine Mark Hughes sitting here and I'm sitting right behind Mark. He can actually see me. He can see me. But you can feel me. Okay. Because we have this question and the meeting keeps going on. So the guy who's presenting is basically alive. It was the longest story. And I knew it. And so once in a while, I wanted to turn to me and say, hey, Rob, what do you think? And of course, when we were at the table, what do you think? And of course, this is qualifying on the TV. I knew I could do it. He's like, what do you think? It's like, anyway, it was like, what do you do now? And all this cameras and because I need to do it. And so finally, he says, bye. And, he goes out of the room. And about 10 seconds later, he comes back and he wants to pay. This one, and I'm like, Oh, me. Yeah, me. He goes, come with me. He goes, and you know, the guards are crazy. He's going crazy. Serve leadership. Serve leadership. Foundation of our foundation. And he goes, what did you think, Bob? Like, you know, we're talking about, you know, it's okay. He goes, wow. You know, what did you think? Tell me later. What did you think? I said, let's you know, fun later. But here's the point. Here's the story. I can know that I'm like how do any of us know with in our circle of people? How do we know that the person behind you or is not feeling something? Or maybe is not, you know, needs some help or needs a kind word or needs something. How do we know? Well, Mark Hughes, okay, and he taught me a lesson that day, a moment that mattered, possibly, a big moment in my life, when he taught me about servant leadership. And the question, you know, as we move forward into the future, is who's going to be that servant leader in the room? And I hope the answer is everybody, because together we're unstoppable. We're unstoppable. Okay, I'm just going to kind of go through some of the core principles for Herbalife because I believe, you know, we want to get through this. We want to hear from, of course, Amber and Jay, but operate with integrity. And I'll flat out tell you right now, as somebody, you know, this is my company after 31 years. If you don't operate with integrity, and you know, because you've won the rewards in Vietnam, you're one of the examples there, you guys. Okay. But the reality is, if you don't operate with integrity in Herbalife, you can get out. Nobody needs you. Nobody needs anybody in Herbalife. Oh, yeah, for sure. Nobody needs anybody in Herbalife who doesn't take the highest from the bus. Okay? Be enthusiastic, have a great attitude. You know, a couple of years ago when we were here, we honored Dan Baldwin, who we lost about 2 years ago. And I remember being on a call with Dan Baldwin. It was during the things that were kind of difficult in the United States with the government and everything. And so before the call started, the chairman's clause, we had a call every single week. And they were horrible calls because we were dealing with a very okay. Obviously, Mark Hughes, no problem. Okay. And so, there's my predecessor, my former president. We had a lot of presidents, so I was one of the long line of presidents and stuff. And he's like, you know, he says to me, I don't know what happened. We started laughing, and we're about to start this very, very tense call that we just didn't want to get on. For some reason, something happened that was just very funny. And Dan Walton said something to us, and we should all remember, because sometimes we focus on things we can't control. Sometimes we focus on problems, which is a waste of time. Sometimes we call each other up, which is a waste of time. We should be focused, you know, it's our eye on the road. Okay. And so Dan Walton said, listen, I don't know what you two are laughing about. I don't know what you two are laughing about. But man, I feel great. Because if you two are laughing, everything's all right. Okay? And that's a lesson for all of us. We got to take everything looking forward with a positive attitude. You know, and obviously the company doesn't not perfect. We're not perfect. Okay, our technology is, yeah, laughing from the peanut gallery. Okay, yeah, but it's true. You know that. But we're gonna fix it. I can guarantee you that. We're not focused. We're focused on here. Focused on there. Okay, because it doesn't. Oh, we got to fix it. And by the way, Jason, you know, been incredible in helping us, you know, address some of the issues. So have a great attitude, take ownership, and you have to take ownership of your distributorship and the company. You know, I have a phrase, and the phrase is, "This is my company." And I want you to all think about this. if you all thought that you owned Herbalife, if you really all thought that you owned Herbalife, and basically you do, in a way, you own the future, which you're going to hear about tomorrow. You own that. So you should be thinking tomorrow, like, how can I own that? But if we don't all feel responsible for this place, our head's in the wrong place. Uncle Rob. Okay. Follow your convictions and commit. Set the right expectations. Build relationships. And you know, it's funny too, because how many people in here use AI? How many people use AI? It's ChatGPT. Yeah, everybody. Okay, everybody's using it now. Again, when you started, we didn't have ChatGPT. Set the right expectations. And so our superpower is you. But this company's superpower is the relationship, the communication. Do we have to does everybody have to incorporate AI? Absolutely, yes. Take the responsibility and figure out whether the company's going to help ChatGPT. We're going to help with that training materials and all kinds of stuff. Okay, we're not over AI in the right way. Communication. But at the end of the day, we can never lose our close relationship. We can't, it's impossible. If we do that, if you don't have the team is so important here. Even though you're all running your own businesses independently, okay, we're more powerful together. We're much more powerful together. You know, in Korea, you might remember this. Where's Korea? Where's Korea? Yeah, okay. But when we opened Korea, we actually, in those days, the IB, they called them IBPs at the time, right? Now they call them, what are they, HMPs, right? Okay, so they call them IBPs, I still call them IBPs. And the application in the IBP, we made a mistake, like a legal mistake on it. And so we had like 5,000 IBPs getting ready for the day we opened. You guys definitely remember this. And so, and in those days, the IBPs were like cardboard. So you remember, when you open the IBP up, sometimes you cut yourself, right? Right, left, okay. So we had to open 5,000 IBPs, pull out the application, stamp the application, put it back in the IBP, and close the IBP. In each turn, 5,000 cutting our fingers. And so, you know, I did it. I was seated in the room, opening the IBPs and taking care of the thing because we had to do it. But we never, we have to expect only from others what we will do ourselves. Okay, I couldn't expect the team to go unbox IVPs and cut their fingers and bleed if I wasn't going to do it too. And then, this is part of your organization. This is what we do. Let others grow. And this is really, really important for, especially in the public. Okay. Uncle Rob's coming down. Okay, I got to be real. And, for you in the back. Here's the thing. I'm the president of life and I'm 67 years old. Okay. And I think I know a thing or two about the business. One or two things I think I know. But here's what I really know. We have a whole young, ready, able group of staff. Staff's over here, okay? They're really good. They're really talented. They're really amazing. But if we don't make way for them, we don't let them step up, we're not going to do ourselves any service. We're not going to do Herbalife any service. We need all the people in the back to be in the front, and you guys in the front need to let them in. And I know you want them in. And one thing I didn't tell you about Stefan and myself, when Stefan did his first IBP, or his first HOM, he passed out. And some of you may know the story. He passed out. He was so nervous, he passed out. When I was in law school, and I had to present on stage, like in front of the judges, I passed out. So in order to be really successful in life, I think you need to pass out. So it's a training. You all need to do it, but that's the deal. Okay. Embrace change. We talked about that. Adversity. Live with gratitude. And here's the final two things. Here's the final two things. So about 2 months ago, as an executive team, we got together in like some, not a seminar, but it was about trust building. We did this thing about trust building. And so we all interviewed each other one-on-one, like me to Stefan to Frank, and so on. Okay, all the executives got. And we checked 3 skill sets. And again, this is important as we move forward, not as individuals, but as Herbalife. We check confidence, motive, and reliability. Confidence, motive, and reliability. And I asked Stefan, how confident are you as a CEO? And he asked me how confident he was as the president. Like, do you have the technical skills to do the job? And then he asked, what's your motivation to be here? Is it money? And interestingly enough, when we met with the high flyers just backstage, this one woman told me, I want to reach president. And so one of us asked her, why do you want to reach president, Steve? And she said, so I can help more people. So I can improve the lives of more people. What an answer. Because ultimately, the money is great. It's great to make more money. But ultimately, when we all leave this place at some point in time, it's the people that we leave behind that's going to make all the difference. Okay, so what's your motive and how reliable? And you can look left and right at the tables or the chairs, and you can look at somebody and say, can I count on you? Can I count on you? Let me ask you all a question. Can Herbalife count on you? Can Herbalife count on you? Can Herbalife count on you? Okay, good. Because that's the right answer. Because as we move into the future, and as we fulfill the vision that Stefan's going to lay out to you tomorrow, we've got to count on each other because it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. But the prize at the end is going to be that we're the #1 health and wellness company community platform, which is going to make it easier as we move forward. And so here's the last thing. I don't want this coming back to me someday. I actually love music. I love music, and I love musicals, like Broadway musicals. And so when I'm on the plane coming over here, I was listening on my headphones, and I was listening to this song from a musical, and it really, really fired me up. I'm not going to sing it. I promise, no singing from Uncle Rob, okay? But I am going to read you some lyrics because it really, really fired me up. And it made me think about all the change that we're about to experience and all the leadership we have in this room. And so here it goes. And it's called, some of you'll all know this song, by the way, if you like musicals like me. It's called Defying Gravity. And Herbalife is about to defy gravity like never, ever before. It goes like this. Something has changed within me. Something is not the same. This weekend, moments that matter. Something has changed within me. Something is not the same. I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game. Too late for second guessing. Too late to go back to sleep. President Steve, too late. Too late. It's time to trust my instincts, close my eyes, and leap. Next, I'm through accepting limits. Because someone says there's some things I cannot change, but I'll try. I'll never know. Too long I've been afraid of losing something. I guess I've lost. Well, if that's it, it comes at much too high a cost. Fear is the biggest killer in Herbalife. It's the biggest killer. And the last, unlimited. Together, we're unlimited. Together we'll be the greatest team there's ever been. Dreams the way we plan them. If we work in tandem, there's no fight. Herbalife, We cannot win. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. I take lots of notes, right? Wow.
I'm really very grateful for the heartfelt message of Rob, Uncle Rob's message.
Uncle Rob.
So, for me, it's really a reminder to have in mind, to have the right heart and mindset as leaders, and to really share it to our organization that they are extraordinary. That's number one. And to take ownership, of this company, this business, because when all of us work together, we can really be unstoppable. And also that since we are extraordinary, as long as we're willing to stay focused, work very, very hard, and work better, because thanks God, we have all our mentors around to help us improve and make all the necessary refinements. So anything can happen. And really this time, these very important lessons today is really a moment in our life that I hope we can take home with us when we go back to our places. Okay. So also, yeah.
He mentioned about we are ordinary can be extraordinary. What ability to make bankrupt, city, the all background of background.
And the very important time that was out there really unidentified. Just really, and we have people out there who never believe in themselves, that we can help them really have that very, very strong belief.
Yeah, Rob mentioned this background, Stefan's background to become like now. We also here, we experience our own journey in global life, right? So yeah, it's so good. We can have the leadership skills and some notes we take home and we apply to be a good leader. We have to lead ourselves first, right? We lead ourselves, then we lead by example. And it's from John Maxwell about the servanthood leadership. It's so good. The book is so good. And we have to apply it in our daily life to global life.
And also just to add, as leaders, we're put in this position as leaders. We are very, very mindful of integrity and always taking the high road. Michael O. Johnson always remind us, right? And he said, much is given, much is expected.
All right. So are you guys excited for the next speaker? The very best guest speaker. Are you ready to take notes? From the front, ready? On the back there in the middle, on the left. Are you guys ready on the right? Ready? For Chairman's Club 70K from United States, Amber and Jason. Wait, come on up. Please, Papa. First,
Oh, look at this row. All of you. Oh, hi. I sometimes just want to get off the floor and walk out to all of you out there. Hello. All right, let's see if I get set up here. Excited to be here this afternoon with you all.
We are honored and humbled to be with you all. Congratulations on what an amazing event this is turning out to be. And the weekend with the 20,000 plus people. Congratulations to each and every one of you and the leadership that you have. And right in the front row and beyond. Thank you.
Wow. Oh my goodness. It's so fun to see all of you. All right. This afternoon, we are sharing a little bit of our story and this 7 years at World Team story. But mostly, I want you guys to look at the two sentences at the bottom. And I'm really going to keep coming back to this for the majority of this section, which is people join because of leadership behavior. Okay, we'll talk about what is leadership behavior. And for Jason and myself, what happened in the first 7 years of our business? So Jason and I have been in business for 24 years, built our business in North America. And I was so inspired at my very first event. And I heard a really fast story, a girl that I went to college with, and she built her presidency check in like 19 months. And I was like, oh goodness, you know, you guys have heard the stories, right? And you're thinking, I'm just gonna like rocket ship right to the president's team. And the truth is, Jason and I stayed at the world's team for 7 years. So we're going to tell that detailed story tomorrow so that all of your brand new people also in the room can hear that journey. Okay, but today what we're going to do is talk to you guys about, well, what was actually happening for Jason and myself in the 7 years. Now, when we were in the 7 years, of course, that is so frustrating, right? Looking back, you guys, there's this Steve Jobs quote that's, you can't connect the dots looking forward, but looking back, you can connect the dots. So today, standing here at our level of the marketing plan, we can connect the dots and we can look back about what was happening in those 7 years that shaped our business, you know, for the full 24-year journey. And then we're going to also talk about growing royalties. So Jason and I had this like leadership behavior for 7 years, but we couldn't grow royalties. And one thing we're going to talk to you about today is people grow royalties because of leadership development. We have to get in the business or understand the business of growing royalties is developing humans. All right, Chair.
And, you know, we call this the 7 hidden years because a lot of times people hear the quick story, the 23 years of the presidency, but the 7 hidden years, those years that we were at the world team, and I remember this, believe us, we didn't want to be at the world team for 7 years, right? So we were trying to figure out how can we grow. And I remember people on stage was like, they would say, you have to enjoy the journey. And while the 7 years was going on, I would listen to that and you wanted to, we're not enjoying this journey in the moment. But in the moment, if you look back, those 7 years built the foundation of who we are today in our leadership, and not only our leadership, but how we transfer that into our team. So that I would never look to go back and trade those 7 years at the world team for anything. Were they fun? Absolutely not. Did they hurt? Absolutely. Were there times of doubt? Absolutely. Were there times that we questioned, will we ever make it? Absolutely. But if we didn't go through there, I'm not sure how strong our roots would be when we did hit those 23 months. We were prepared, and we're going to go through that today. Because most people, they see that story, the fast story, but the learnings of the ups and downs, we would get some momentum, and then a distributor that was going to go to the presidency would quit. I don't know if you've ever had that, right? But through these 7 years, it just kept going up and down, up and down. But those are the moments that we stand on the stage because it really questioned. Every time we would go through a down, we would go to the events just to get a recharge in our batteries because we were down at times. And if it wasn't for the event structure and we could get customers, then we could get the customers' results. That is really what kept us in.
And we had this little team, I mean, 1 to 5 distributors / supervisors throughout this period that kept us in the game. Because we always say in Herbalife, there will be an event for you. So we encourage everybody to go to all the events because I would not want you to miss your event. We always say that. And for us, we're going to share tomorrow what our event was and how that really changed the trajectory of not only our work life, but our life. Because this is the key. You could hear the great story and you could see the great pictures, and that's fine and dandy. But to relate and make it real, people, especially our team, they're relating to the struggle. Because a lot of times, love this business for this part, we all sign up the same way. We all start with signing a membership into Herbalife, and we all start at 25%, and we all are created equal on that, and I love it. And then when you see the stories, the testimonials that people are like, well, I'm working for somebody, it's got to work. We just haven't found our way, and that belief that event really kept us in the struggle with year one. And here's what was happening. And yes, we gave up promising careers. And we went to school. We were taught to go to school, get a good job, stay there 30 years, and live happily ever after. And again, we'll share more of this tomorrow. But we had great corporate jobs, and we were on that trajectory. So what was happening behind is that we're questioning, why did we quit our jobs? Because in these 7 years, it would be so much easier to go back, so much easier. Not talent enough. Maybe Amber and Jason cannot do this business because we don't have the talent to be an Herbalife distributor. That's the thinking that we had. Not on the right team. Because we would go to these events and we'd see a guest trainer, and we're like, man, if we were just in their group. We had this thinking going on. And you know, sometimes we question, are we missing something that others had proved that we just need to develop? What is it? We don't even know. But what is it? Here's the one thing. It was very interesting. This bottom point. It was crazy because this picture of Amber on the computer is taking when we gave up our corporate jobs, moved back home 5 hours to live with Amber's mom and dad in the basement. Okay? We gave up this house. We sold our house. We came and then we lived in this basement. And then this is the one that, the bottom point, there was already somebody in our town that was a millionaire team. We thought about moving from that town because of that bottom point. And if you look back and you connect the dots, we had over a president's team coming out of that specific town. But do you see our lack thinking in those moments? We have to go where no one is. We have to. What do we have to do? These doubts were always going through our mind at these times. But here's the thing, what was happening? And I'm not sure where all of you are right now. Some of you are going crazy. Some of you are going great. But I would imagine in your Herbalife career, you have moments where you're like, is this going to happen? We don't win every day. I always say, can you win the month? Meaning, can you win 16 out of the 30 days? You had a great month. And those down months, how do you handle that? When those 7 years were happening, this is what we were quietly building: the presentation skills, how to speak in front of people, the credibility, because we had product results. We got customer results. We had customers get results. So we had that credibility in our town. We had the consistency. We kept showing up every day. And we'd go to the training, every training. And we were quietly developing our leadership, even though it started with leading ourselves first. And I heard an interesting quote. It was like, sometimes on your darkest days, whatever, life, personal, business, you feel like maybe you can't go on and it's dark. And this quote said, don't view it as darkness, view it as though you were planted and you're just building your roots to move forward. And it's the interesting perspective because that's what we were developing in those years. But in the moment, we couldn't see that. We were like in survival mode, trying to lead ourselves. and do the things we needed to do.
Let me say here too, Jay, is Jason and I do have it's a Mark Hughes belief system, right? So we had always heard that if you want to grow a royalty check, you did 10,000 personal volume points a month. So even in this 7-year journey, there's only 1 month in the 7-year journey that Jason and I were below 10,000 personal volume points. So we had personal results. We knew how to get customers. We had great follow-up with our customers. So we could create personal volume. And Jason and I have always been high personal volume people, right? So it's in our organization to this day, we have people that do high personal volume. They love the products. They know how to set people up on programs. What Jason and I could not figure out was how to teach somebody else how to create volume. Okay, so we could do it ourselves. And so I think we were developing leadership behavior, right? We were doing the personal development. We attended every event. We knew how to get customers. We knew how to take care of customers. But when it came to pitching a vision to another person to inspire them to also do the business, we just couldn't figure that out. Okay, but when it comes to personal leadership behavior, that is a lot of what we were doing in those first 7 years, like personal accountability, personal leadership behavior.
And looking back, the bamboo tree principle, you know, it's interesting to go through how does a bamboo tree grow. And if you look at the statistics, and I chat GPT this, years 1 through 4, you have to water every day or it's not going to grow. But you still do not see anything happening. And on year 5, when the soil is right, this will grow 60 to 90 feet in 6 weeks, even growing 3 feet in 1 day. Now, the question always goes back, I mean, always related back to the story, is that did this grow 90 feet in 6 weeks? Or did this grow 90 feet in 5 years, 6 weeks? We see the growth, but sometimes we have to say, what is really happening? How are we building our rooms? How are we taking care of our customers? How are we developing ourselves in leadership? How are we thinking? How are we speaking? And how are we acting? And that's the question. Because growth, once you have it, we found in our organization, once we had that stability, we were prepared to have those 23 months of presidency. But would we have traded it to go quicker in that moment? Of course. But looking back, never traded it because the value of who we became, and Jim Rohn says it, who you become along the journey is the value, but who we became along the way is why we're here today and standing in front of you. And it, you know, it humbles us because I can still remember that first day. What are we doing? That first event. What are we doing? And some of you in here, that's this event. I love this event, this extravaganza, because that was my first, we'll talk about it tomorrow, but that was my personal first event. Amber asked if you wanted to go to this little meeting. It was the extravaganza. Because your paradigms can shift in these meetings. And the opportunity that you all have, what you've created in this region is phenomenal. The opportunity is right here for you. And what a better time than to be right here, right now, with you and the leaders and your team. So hats off to you.
Okay, let me update you guys a little bit. We keep referring to this 23 months, but I just want to make sure that you guys get this part of the story. So when we signed up, right, it was 2002, we were very excited and we thought we were just going to like skyrocket to the president's team. Remained at the world team for 7 years. But at that point, you guys, when we started doing a 90-day plan, and we were really committed to the business, it took us 23 months, 7 back-to-back 90-day plans to go from world team to president's team. If I even back up, it took us 36 months to go from world team to 30K to diamond. Okay, so sometimes people know that story, but again, just like the bamboo tree, there was a 7-year journey prior to the fast bamboo start. Okay, so I just want to make sure that you guys all had clarity on that. So let's talk leadership behavior. You guys are leaders, but you guys are leaders who want your loyalties. So we have to talk about leadership behavior yourself. And then number two, how to develop other humans to become leaders. And we're going to talk about this today because I believe that there's a difference between an earner and a leader. And Jason and I have 25 presidents team in our organization, and we have presidents team members that are earners. They are not leaders. Okay, so I don't say that to them, right? I'm not like, hey, by the way, you're not a leader. But they're not a leader, but they're still a president's team member. And I want to share with you guys today some of the attributes that I think are different between leadership development behavior and just personal leadership behavior. Okay. So it's 2007. This is the year that I'm about to quit. Okay. I feel like Jason and I both have our master's degrees in engineering, and we had great jobs. You guys probably know, if I say Scotch tape and Post-it notes, do you guys know what Scotch tape and Post-it notes are? Yes. Okay, that's the company we worked for. Okay, 3M is the company we worked for, and loved the company. It was a great experience. But like Jason said, that we were raised like you go to college and you work great jobs. But I got all the products. I lost 21 pounds, and then the person that got me on the products got me to an event. So when I go to the event, I see the vision. We'll talk about this tomorrow. That's right. I get the vision that we're going to be president's team just as fast as she was. We're not. So after you guys, 5-6 years, I'm about ready to throw in the towel. I'm done. Okay. And I'm talking to Jason. I want to quit. The long story short is we absolutely drew a line in the sand at that moment. We'll tell the story in more depth tomorrow. But I talked about the D word and divorce. We were like, listen, we're never going to divorce her life. We just I remember standing in the kitchen, I'm crying, and I was like, listen, if it takes us 20 years, we hear these stories of people getting to the presidency in 20 years. I was like, listen, if it takes us 20 years, then it takes us 20 years. We're like, we love these products. We believe humans are better off on the Herbalife products than not. We believe in the business opportunity. And if we saw people moving up the market, Prince hit president's team, it's not like there weren't other people moving up the marketing plan in your Herbalife business. It's just Jason and Amber weren't. Okay. But we had such vision because we would go to these events and we'd hear the stories. So I was like, we believe that people were better off in Herbalife than not. And so the joke is, right, that I got a tattoo on my foot, and I would say I branded myself kind of like a cow. And when I say this, it's like, I remember putting the tattoo on my foot. And the reason why I did it at that moment when we almost quit is because I didn't want someone to walk up to me like in a yoga class and be like, oh, that's an awesome tattoo. What is it? And I say like, oh, it's this company I used to be a part of, but I quit. Right? I was like, I'm never going to say that. So it was like my full on, I can't say that. I have to commit to staying in the company. So I get this tattoo in May. Jason and I go to a personal development seminar in June. Okay. In July, we go to the one event, right? Called an extravaganza that changed our lives. And from that moment on, things started to shift for us. Okay. So leadership behavior. This is Amber's leadership behavior will come before my leadership results. What happens sometimes is people like to see the results first. And then when they see the results, they say, oh, then I'll become a leader. Okay. I think many of you guys know it's like the 5,000 personal volume has to come first. Okay. Or let's even say the 2,500 and active supervisor volume has to come first. Then the 5,000 has to come first. Okay. And then if you really want to grow a serious realty check, then 10,000 has to come. And not because you yourself are producing 10,000, but because you're recruiting enough humans into the business, increasing your overall personal production. So the one thing that Jason and I committed to right after that July extravaganza, and to this day, this is exactly what my Jason's gauge sheet looks like, you guys, is we gauged absolutely everything that was going on. So how many humans we talked to, how many people we invited to take a look at the products, how many wellness profiles we did, how many people purchased programs. I mean, listen, I love it. We're engineers. I like data. Okay. So not only did we start to keep data, and if you are building a business in our organization, you have access to see all of our data. So this became leadership behavior on our part. I was starting to create a trend in the organization that if I'm gonna have more of a second line and any other front line, if I'm just allow them to watch your gauges, you better bet I'm gonna work. Because I'm not gonna have them have access to their gauges and keep reporting with your. They can see how many people we were recruiting, how much what our postal volume was. This started to buy since 2007, this started to create a. It quite possibly could have been just because we started in 1990, we started working as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, you wanna say something there?
yeah, because what we started to create is called like creating tracks to run on. Because it gave, I mean, we're working, and when you say in the 7 years when we stayed at the World Team, that's how many 90-day plans we completed. 0. And Amber said 7 back to back, and then 23 months later, presidency. But then when we started documenting our efforts, I remember I was in my hometown, which is a little over an hour away from where we live, and I didn't talk to my people. I didn't talk to 10 people. So, and I was driving out of town. And I remember pulling into a hotel because I needed to put my 10 people on here. And if I did not put it down, my team would see that. But what it did for me, it made me do the uncomfortable and made me get out of my fear and talk to people. But then on the other hand, it gave our team permission when we hit the loyalty, when we hit the global expansion team, when we hit the millionaire team, it gave them tracks to honors. And I remember our frontline, she was getting close to the president's team, and she would have been our first diamond. That was her first diamond. And she called Amber and I, and she's like, "This is the mom that can't track your metrics." And I remember looking at the person just like this, and we're like, not even close. So we think
She was close, but we didn't think she was close enough.
close enough.
Yeah.
So we didn't tell her. And we're like, okay, we're gonna do it. We put that plan in place at the end of the month. And wouldn't you know it, she didn't get it. But this gives her permission and believe that she could get it based on the tracks that had done before. And then the next time, they did the same thing. So I just wanted to.
Okay, so let's do this. This is the top one. Okay, we decide to our office, or sometimes we need to discuss their ourselves. We're serious, you guys are looking at the rest of the team. We took a wall and we painted a wall and we have a chalkboard wall. So not only we keep the gauges, but then this is where we do like developing humans, right? Like this is where we were like tracking our team us, right? It was our next. But we look here, June 2009 was our first cut of the president's team. And so, and we would show the team, we would just be on the line with them and showing them that we were tracking and showing them who we were developing. So everything that we were doing for the most part without giving up anything out of confidence for somebody else, it was on display. So we really are, from a team perspective, Jason and I have a great team culture, and it's kind of a one team philosophy. And for the most part, people share everything. So if they see that, you know, Dalt has 10,000 volume points here, Don has what, 4,000 volume points, Annie has 4,000, they might reach out. They might be like, Annie, what are you doing? Or Joel, what are you doing to create 10,800 points? So there is a decent amount, the culture, which we'll talk about a little bit today. The culture of the organization also was this culture of a lot of sideline mentoring also. Okay, I'm still gonna go into public accountability, you guys. Everybody knew our activity, our appointments, like our wellness profile appointments, our one-on recruiting presentations, our personal production, how many new distributors, it's an open gate sheet. Okay, so let me go from personal leadership behaviors. We see a lot of us personally tracking and then us sharing that just put us in a different level. But what that has created for the culture of the organization is our president's team will now do that with their organization. And now, like I was sharing with the S&P yesterday, we have a chat. I am going to talk about it here in just a little bit. We have a chat with the top 20 distributors in our organization who are committed to moving to the next level, and they're all sidelined. and they all have to put their gauges in this chat and they're all sidelined. So there is something to be said, at least in an organization, the culture of public accountability. Okay, the culture of personal leadership accountability. Now, that doesn't mean that they're developing other humans yet. Okay, but they're taking on personal accountability for their own leadership. Okay, so trust grows. You guys, there's a lot of trust in an organization. There's a lot of trust with these sidelines because we have one sideline, this millionaire team, and her production is, she lives in a very small town, like 300 people. So she feels like her production is low. She's amazing, but she feels like her production is low. And then we have other people, right? And their production is extremely high. So they feel just love and trust and communicate with each other. There'll be routines here to this thread. Okay, but they do have a lot of love and trust for each other.
And, you know, leadership under pressure, it's the interesting thing because it will be tested. And, you know, a lot of times, when does leadership grow is when you need it. And when it shows up is your fortitude, where do you plant your feet and make a decision? It's like the tea bag story. When is that you take the tea bag out, at least in America, and then you put it in the water. And when does the tea get the darkest? When it stays in the heat the longest. And that's what happens in the leadership. It's like if things are happening to you, when I mean things, it's like what is the circumstances around you happening? And not only what is it happening to you, you know, Amber's going to talk a little bit about, you know, some of the obstacles we had in our beginning is that that's what shapes your future. Because not only does it shape your future, but from the front. Because one thing we learned is that you're always being watched. You're always being interviewed by your team. It's like sitting on the front row table. And if I ask all the Chairman's Club, the Founders Circle, how many times do you take notes on Formula One? Right? But, you know, sometimes you're sitting there, you know, your team's watching and the product training. And sometimes I don't know, I can't read my writing because I'm just going scribbling, but I'm taking notes on the Formula One training. So that's the kind of leading from the front. It starts with the product. If we want to grow or if we wanted to become this business, we had to be in product for the products. Number one, we had to get the results. We had to focus on program sales because if we were going to teach our team to use product sales, and if we didn't do it, it's like, oh no, you go do that and we'll be great. I learned this in college. I worked on the pipeline. And I remember one summer, and we would drill these big pipes under the road, called a road borer. And I remember going through this pipe, and it was like 24 inches round. And it hit a big rock in the middle of the road, underneath the road. They pulled it out. And my boss asked me, okay, crawl in that pipe and try to dig out the rock. And I thought he was kidding to me. And I laughed. He goes, come on. No, I'm serious. Follow me. He goes, I'd never have you do something I wouldn't do. But that lesson really positioned us. We needed to be the front. We needed to be held accountable for our results. And that was the leadership in action. The 10,000 volume a month, it had to be from us first. And even in those 7 years of the world team, I believe 1 month that we did not hit that. Because we were leading from the front. And you know, moving from there, it's like you look back, why did people finally join? It definitely wasn't because we were extraordinary, right? But through the taking ownership and leadership through our own action, people started to see, and we started to become a belief. We started to get the belief that it's happening and it's going to happen. And when they saw that commitment, when they saw the vision, and that's when people started to happen, started to come on board, and they, you know, you're going, we believe it. We see the vision. We see what you're doing. We want to be a part of it. And this picture, especially, these are the two supervisors we had in 2007. After all those 7 years, we had two supervisors at the extravaganza with us. And those are right here. Brooke Kerwin, she's 40K for or 50K for diamond. And Laura in the middle with the pink hair, she is a 20K two diamond.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because do you think in their journey, did they question whether this was going to work or not? Of course. And a little bit about Laura. We had to lead from a position of knowing where our team was during this journey with, I remember one Herbalife vacation, like we had heard that Laura, the one in the middle, was going to go on this, she was millionaire. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, little team.
She was millionaire team at the time. And he was going to go on this Herbalife vacation to the Bahamas and then let us know she was going to quit Herbalife. We knew that going, and we had to have the leadership, the compassion, and to love her for where she was at and be okay with her decision, whatever that was. She ended up not quitting, but we couldn't decide